record for having the fewest number of fights to be world champion. But he's been defeated. I was undefeated, and and people don't realise I never lost a bantamweight title. I never lost my super bantamweight title, Dave, and I never lost my featherweight title. I moved up in weights, and God and behold, I know to this day without any hesitation that I won my 4th world title. I was the first boxer in history to win 4 world titles undefeated. And again, but I don't have that on my record book. And am I cranky? Not one bit, mate. Like I said, an amazing lesson. I fought Azuma Nelson again in that rematch, and he showed me what an amazing champion that he was. That he was able to go back home after getting that beating and turning everything around and coming back to Melbourne, Australia, and beating me. So life's all about learning lessons, and that's why I love speaking, and I love going out and talking to kids, because I let them know that he was a kid, Jeff Fennick, who had nothing, went through all this adversity and rode the roller coaster, and today I'm very, very happy with where I'm at and who I am.
Let's go back to 1991, Jeff. You took a year off from boxing, but then you got into the ring with one of the all-time greats, Azuma Nelson, and produced one of the all-time great fights, despite the fact it was probably a decision which was wrong.
Yeah, definitely so. Like I said, I look back today and I think Jeff Horn fought Manny Pacquiao, and they were so adamant that Pacquiao won it. They went back and looked at the scores, and when he didn't, of course they allowed Jeff Horn to do what he done. He won the fight. I would have loved them to go back and count the scoring in my fight against Azuma Nelson. I have no doubt anybody who watched the fight knows I won at least 9 rounds out of 12, which is, like I said, which is upsetting for me when it comes to these records and stuff about boxing. But when I think about life in general, I think, listen. 1 world title was great, 2 was amazing, 3 was great. I'm not greedy at all. I just look at it and I just think that that period of my life maybe really shaped me up for who I am today, because all that adversity, and I really learned who my real friends were, Dave. I learned what my life was more about, and it wasn't all just about winning. It was about how to accept losing and how to become a better person when that's happened. And when I weigh it all up, mate, maybe it was a blessing that I didn't get 4 world titles, because it was a stage in my life and my career that I didn't really like who I was when I look back and think that I was a spoiled guy who got everything that he wanted for nothing. I'd go in any restaurant and eat and drink for nothing because I was this world champion. But when you lose, things change a little. But still, like I said, I'm so happy with everything that happened in my life and my career.
Sporting Australian Sports Hall of Fame 1986, and then that wonderful achievement in the early part of this century in 2002, you were inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Special day, that one too.
Yeah, definitely so. I think I'm the youngest person ever to be inducted in the Australian Boxing Hall of Fame, which is a great thing. And then to be in the World Boxing Hall of Fame is just like the icing on the cake. People can talk about how great they were. And we've got a lot of guys, I don't want to mention names, they're this and that, but when other people recognise you for your deeds and what you've done in the ring, that's when you know when you've really made it. Like, I get off the plane, Dave, just for you to know, on the 3rd of May, I've just been chosen as one of the 12 best fighters in history for the WBC, and Hublot are going to honour us in Las Vegas, and when you get off the plane with that group of people like Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Ray Leonard, Duran, Chavez, De La Hoya, it's big. And like I said, that's when you know you've made it in the sport, when your peers respect you, when the people that are with you and above you and you've fought respect you. And I get a lot of respect when I'm overseas, and I really enjoy that.
Jeff, you've done plenty in the sport since you retired to help young boxers and train young boxers. Does it frustrate you a little bit when sports people from other sports then occupy a lot of the headlines in boxing? We see it this week. Paul Gallen will fight John Hopewadi, and that'll attract a fair bit of attention. As someone who trains young boxers who've all they've wanted to do is box, does it annoy you a little bit?
Look, to be honest, it annoys me. It's upsetting that the media don't support the real, the nuts and bolts of our sport, which are these young kids coming up, and build them up. But look, today, well, we all want to be healthier, wealthier, richer, wise, whatever it may be. And if these guys can make money doing what they've got to do, I can't begrudge them that opportunity if they've got the name to do that. But when it comes to being a purist, I mean, well, I've got kids here that are amateur kids, and I've got kids that have had limited fights that can beat these guys that they're fighting. And that upsets me a little. But look, Paul Gallen, I think that he's done great. I think that if he would have boxed at a younger age, he's a very tough kid and very special. I've put him through pads a few times. I've always said that I thought that he could have been a fighter.
And I noticed young Zoo's fighting on Friday night on the same card at the Horden Pavilion.
Costa's son.
Yeah, Costa's son.
Yeah, definitely. He's got great pedigree there. He's got a great mindset. He's here with his mum. Obviously, Costa's back in Russia, but his mum's very supportive of him, Natasha. And when I watch him, I just see him improving all the time, working hard, and that's all he can do. He's got a very, very tough road to follow. So, I mean, for me, Costa is one of the greatest I've ever seen. So if he can be half as good as his dad, he's going to be great.
And what about the rest? What about your stable? What have you got coming up from your boxing stable?
I've got little young Brock Jarvis who will fight on the 1st of March at Technology Park at Dalton House. He's going to fight for the youth world title. I've got young Hassan Hamden, Nader Hamden's son, who's also going to have a fight in, and he'll turn professional. But I've got some good young up-and-coming boys who I'm really excited about working with. And like I said, for me, boxing is, if we all can work together, the sport will grow. And that's the thing that boxing needs. It needs every promoter, every trainer, everybody in the game to work together and help each other, and that hasn't happened for a long time. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I'd like it to happen.
Is the sport suffering, Jeff, from the rise of the UFC? I see Rob Whittaker, the world champion, is fighting this weekend. Do you like UFC, and is boxing suffering as a result?
No, I don't think it's suffering from it. I think that all combat sports are good, and I think that Robert Whittaker's an amazing athlete. I'm going to fly down to Melbourne on the weekend to watch him compete, but I just think that the only reason why it's proven beyond doubt that when two great fighters and two great boxers box, that it draws the biggest crowd, the biggest money, it does everything. So we just need we need some great new fighters to come along. And like I said, I'm very confident that with Brock Jarvis and Hass Hamden now, they're boxing in good hands, and we just need to get together. We need people like you guys to promote them and publicise these guys on the way up, and boxing will always be a great sport.
Jeff Fennick, you've always been very special to me, and it's a privilege to speak to you. I still reckon you won a gold medal, and I know that you won 4 fair dinkum professional titles, even though it isn't on the CV. Thanks very much for your time, champ.
Hey, David, it's always great to talk to people who do their research and know about the sport, and you're one of them, David. Total respect for you, mate. Thank you so much, and thank you. Hope people enjoy the interview.
Thanks, Jeff. Good, mate. Yeah, go and enjoy what you do well. If you're over 50 and you don't know whether your life insurance is great value for money, here's how to find out in 5 minutes flat. Get a quick online quote today on the biggest life insurance offer ever at 50upclub.com. Right now, you can get a 20% lifetime discount on life insurance cover with Noble Oak's My Protection Plan, plus your first 2 months free. That's 20% lifetime discount on life insurance cover under Noble Oak's My Protection Plan, plus your first 2 months free. And remember, it's from award-winning Aussie provider Noble Oak. Get a quick quote today and see if you can save hundreds only at 50upclub.com, and only for a limited time. Any advice provided is general in nature. You should read the product disclosure statement to see if this product is right for you. Head to 50upclub.com today.
Furniture and bedding end-of-lease sale at Harvey Norman Seconds World Mascot must end this Sunday. All furniture stock reduced. Dining tables, lounges, outdoor furniture and more. All bedding stock reduced. Mattresses, bedroom furniture in Manchester. Everything must go. Make an offer. Massive price reductions. One location only. Harvey Norman Seconds World Mascot must end this Sunday. Get in before it's all gone. Everything must go. Make an offer. Harvey Norman Seconds World Mascot Furniture and Bedding. Doors closed Sunday.
At Fuso Trucks right now, the deals are no way. These prices can't be right. With class-leading service intervals and a 5-year warranty as standard on the full range of trucks. Are you kidding? They can't possibly follow through with that. Can they?
Yeah, they can.
All right. To find out more about these unbelievable deals, visit your Fuso dealer or fuso.com.au now. Fuso. Rise above. T's and C's apply.
Mornings on Macquarie Sports Radio. All sports, all the time. Thanks to KO. Stream over 50 sports live and on demand.
Yeah, Ryan, and the Stanley Cup champions have paid a visit to the White House. What's happened here?
How did you just ask the question
The
then?
White House.
The White House.
The White House.
Where are you off to? I go to the White House.
It's the Aussie way, mate.
Oh,
It's the Aussie way.
only House is the most powerful man in the world. Where are you off to? I'd love to see Trump in the White House, eh?
He's all right.
Would you like to announce to the world, Jockey Clark, what you are opening?
A bar and restaurant with the Joker and Thief.
Clarky, with that restaurant, and considering the circles you move in, have you ordered plenty of high chairs? Some for the kids as well.
Lee Holdsworth from the Tickford Racing Team. You're going to have to keep an eye out for Cyclone Piggy Riddell because Piggy's just looked at when the Gold Coast
I wanted
race
to check
is.
when the boys were racing on the Goldie. It just happens to coincide with our weekend away up there next week.
Piggy's got a penthouse on the Gold Coast. Party at his place.
It's a crazy event up there. I expect to see you hanging off at the side of the balcony.
I'll be hanging off something. I used to go up there every year
that'd
for
be
the
great.
Indy cars. We're up there the early 2000s. We used to go up every year.
There are a lot of things hanging off the balcony back then.
Yes, there were. There were, Lee.
Look at that.
James, a hospitality ticket for the Anthony Joshua Ruiz Jr. rematch. What will I have to pay?
£10,600, and for that what you get chauffeur service, private entrance, but of course no alcohol because it's in Saudi Arabia, and of course alcohol is banned in that part of the world. So
You just lost me, James. Sorry. I did this little play on words with my kids yesterday and we found it hilarious. Into a break, all right, so Levy, I've got to give it to Levy because he's got to read the words. All I want you to do, right, is read the words from top to bottom, okay? As quick as you can. You ready?
I ship myself.
Get on here.
Rock band, racehorse or rude film, girth, wind and fire.
I hope it's a road film.
Yes, I'll have what she's having.
Yes! Running it out for $7.50.
Animal rights activists have proposed a roadside memorial after several chickens were killed in a fiery truck crash. They want a tribute that's going to feature an image of a chicken and the words in memory of the chickens who suffered and died at this spot. Wouldn't they be filthy if the police turned up to the site with their coleslaw and potato and gravy?
Don't miss the T20. Australia takes on Sri Lanka. Don't miss it live tonight, right here on Macquarie Sports Radio.
This Movember, here's to the straggly moustaches, the lopsided ones, the itchy, ratty, ferrety ones, the, hey, I look good with this ones, the ones grown by Dad, the ones grown for Dad. Because whatever you grow, we'll save a bro. Sign up now at Movember.com.
Insurance can be a massive headache. You have a policy for your house, your car, your caravan, your pet, and on it goes. Loads of premiums to pay and prices to compare throughout the year. If that sounds like you need a Hug. Hug is the insurance policy that makes life easier, bringing your different needs together into one single policy. That means just one premium to pay each year. Imagine the amount of time you'd save managing just one policy. This is a great idea. It makes a lot of sense. Have a Hug. One policy, one premium, one big sigh of relief. See huginsurance.com.au. Hug Insurance underwritten by RACQ. Conditions...
Number 11.
Pat Brown sounds more or less like someone who might be in EastEnders, but apparently a very good bowler. I haven't seen a lot of him, I have to say. Knuckle and Tony, you saw him in...
Times in the 11 innings he played. Lance Klusner not only had the highest average in World Cup matches, he had the highest strike rate of 121.17, amassing 372 runs in 14 matches.
World Cup 2019 Cricket Trivia.
Australian spinner Shane Warne was banned from the 2000...
Back on track if the unexpected happens. And you can save up to 25% when you get a quote and...
Suit both teams.
What are you expecting? What are you hoping for? I mean, the Gabba wicket so far, especially this season, has been extraordinary.
Distributes the insurance. Read the PDS to see if this insurance is right for you.
Macquarie National News is next on Australia's home of the EPL. Live and free, on air and online.
Just short of a length with Roy and HG. Get the podcast now at sportsradio.com.au. Macquarie Sports Radio. All sports, all the time.
Midday. Good afternoon, I'm Amy Meehan. The Prime Minister has agreed to a funding overhaul for aged care after the Royal Commission handed down a damning interim report into the sector. Here's Federal Parliament reporter Harry Spicer.
The Royal Commission has described the aged care system as a shocking tale of neglect. A host of recommendations from the Commission's interim report include a funding overhaul, reining in the use of chemical sedatives and stamping out abuse. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says he's listening and extra money will be available by Christmas.
We've got to create a new culture of respect for older Australians.
The opposition's Richard Marles says the government has ripped more than $1 billion out of aged care since it came to office.
Everyone is wondering how Scott Morrison has let this happen.
The Commission's final report will be delivered next year. Harry Spicer, Macquarie National News.
Qantas has grounded 3 of its Boeing 737s because of a crack where the wing attaches to the body. Eleni Lambetsos explains.
Identical hairline cracks have been identified on the same bolt where the wing meets the fuselage on all 3 planes. It's a problem affecting about 5% of Boeing 737NGs worldwide. Qantas has pulled the 3 planes from its service and is starting repairs in the hope of getting them back in the air by the end of the year. Qantas head of engineering Chris Snook says it's a complicated repair process.
So the aeroplane will be on the ground for about a month.
The Union for Aircraft Engineers has called for Qantas to ground all its 75 737s until they're checked, but the airline says that's not necessary. At Qantas Campus Sydney, Eleni Lambetsos, Macquarie National News.
Women and people over the age of 65 who have asthma are being urged to take extra precautions as hazardous smoke blankets Sydney for yet another day. A report shows 1 in 9 people living with the condition are extremely vulnerable to bushfire smoke. Asthma Australia Chief Executive Michelle Goldman says the study confirmed exposure to the smog results in considerably higher asthma-related effects.
Even more so than other forms of small particulate pollution. About 80% of the people surveyed experienced some troubles breathing and almost 20% experienced an asthma emergency. So having a significant impact on people with asthma.
Property prices in Australia have increased for a 4th straight month, driven by increases in Sydney and Melbourne. Josh Bryant reports.
The latest CoreLogic data shows nationally dwelling values have climbed 1.2% in October, now up 2.9% since reaching a floor in June. Property values in Melbourne had their biggest month-on-month gain in a decade, up 2.3%, while Sydney prices climbed 1.7%. CoreLogic head of research Tim Lawless says Perth was the only capital city not to see an increase.
The back of a Toyota Yaris after pulling a man over at Rhodes in the inner west. The 36-year-old was ordered to stop on Meredith Avenue yesterday afternoon by Strike Force officers investigating criminal gangs. Officers also allegedly found $158,000 in a secret compartment of a Honda Accord stopped on Richmond Road at Windsor in Sydney's northwest. Police are launching a fresh appeal for help to identify a man wanted over a sexual assault at Woolloomooloo. A 22-year-old woman was attacked in a laneway in the early hours of last Sunday after leaving a licensed venue on Oxford Street. Police say she'd been separated from her friends before being approached by the man outside. Investigators are releasing additional security footage. Detective Chief Inspector Gavin Beck says they want to hear from anyone who can help them.
Really want to focus on people who are in the Oxford Street area as a whole. We would like anyone who was out in that Oxford Street area that night that saw anything that they thought was suspicious behaviour that come forward and assist us with our investigation.
Scientists in Queensland have helped pinpoint where in the brain the communication process breaks down for people with chronic ADHD. Research led by QIMR Berghofer used neuroimaging to compare 80 adults who were diagnosed with the disorder as children, with 120 people of similar intelligence but without the condition. Dr. Luca Cocchi says they've found ADHD symptoms are linked to noisy communication between regions of the brain.
Because they have this noisy activity, cognitive regions that are involved in taking this information and doing something to orient our behavior, for example, focus on something, or inhibit a certain behavior, struggle to do so.
The US House of Representatives has passed a resolution to formally proceed with the impeachment inquiry against President Donald Trump. Bill Rakoff reports.
The vote was mainly along party lines, 232 to 196. This is House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler.
I support this resolution because it is the solemn duty of the Congress to investigate the serious allegations against the president.
But House Minority Whip Steve Scalise says the process is illegitimate.
If the chair chooses at his whim, they can literally kick out the president's legal counsel. It's not only unprecedented, this is Soviet-style rules.
This was not a vote on impeachment itself, but on rules guiding the inquiry forward.
And briefly, swimmers have been cleared from the water at Queenscliff Beach on the northern beaches over fears of a shark sighting. There have been multiple sightings of a tagged bull shark further up the coast in the past few hours. To the markets, the All Ords is down 9 points, the dollar 68.9 US cents.
A Macquarie Sports Update. Australia takes on Sri Lanka in the third and final 2020 match of their series tonight. The Aussies will be without star batsman Glenn Maxwell, who's taking time out of cricket to focus on his mental health. Darcy Short's been called into the team to replace Maxwell. Australia goes into the MCG game with an unbeatable 2-0 lead. Australian Rugby League Commission Chairman Peter V'landys says he would like to see NRL games return to having one referee. The new chairman admits he's concerned about the number of mistakes referees are making. He's told Macquarie's Ray Hadley the issue is one for the commission members as a whole to consider.
I've got to convince my other commissioners on the board on that. And there's certainly arguments for or against 1 and 2 referees, but you know, I certainly believe that one referee can do the job, and they're probably less of mistakes.
The Wallabies will return to the Sydney Cricket Ground in 2020. Rugby Australia's confirmed the Wallabies will play Ireland on January 11 next year. Test rugby has not been played at the SCG since 1986. Tennis, and Ash Barty is into the last 4 of the WTA finals in China. The Australians beaten Petra Kvitova in straight sets. Golf, and Adam Scott is 2 shots of the lead at the WGC event in Shanghai. In football, Sydney FC takes on Newcastle tonight in the A-League at Leichhardt Oval. The Western Sydney Wanderers play Brisbane tomorrow. And the Football Federation's announced the Pararoos will play their first match on home soil since the Sydney Paralympics later this month. The team will take on Canada. That's sport. I'm Clinton Maynard.
It's 12:07, Macquarie National News.
Does your business pay suppliers and staff overseas? An OF expert can help you save money on foreign exchange. Visit ofx.com/save. Consider the PDS.
The moment to buy a Volvo is now. Purchase the MY20 XC60 T5 Momentum from $67,990 drive away. Ends 31st December while stocks last. At participating dealers. Excludes fleet, government and rental buyers. T's and C's at volvocars.com.au.
Cruise New Zealand for 13 nights from just $1,999 per person during the landmark sale with Princess Cruises. Enjoy this deal, plus receive free onboard spending money. Don't miss out. Book your place today. Explore the world's most recognizable landmarks with cruise deals or air steals. Whether it's uncovering the wonders of Japan or the glaciers in Alaska, enjoy a world of choice when you cruise with Princess. See your travel agent or visit princess.com.
If you've switched your energy before, bear in mind that most deals only last up to a year, and it might be time to see if you can save again. So, it's time to check out this cheap deal from Origin at 50upclub.com. It's 13% less, or $191 less per annum than the electricity reference price on Origin Flexi for 12 months. It's a $1,275 per annum estimated cost for an average household using 3,900 kilowatt hours per year with a flat rate tariff in the Ausgrid distribution zone in New South Wales. Your actual bill may vary depending on your usage. If you're a small household, it could be even less. Basic plan information documents are at 50upclub.com. That's 50upclub.com.
Are low interest rates impacting on your investment returns? It's time to rethink.
Rethink Investing creates wealth for clients through the strategic purchase of positively geared, high cash flow commercial property. Industrial properties, retail assets or office spaces can be a smart investment option that produces significant and long-term return on investment. Rethink your investment options and look to commercial property. Learn more at rethinkinvesting.com.au. Rethink Investing, Australia's #1 commercial buyers agency.
Oh, the Blind Factory! The Blind Factory spring sale is on now! Where are my keys? Where's my phone? Where are my trousers? Why am I always losing my trousers? The Blind Factory! Spring sale, trousers or not.
Macquarie Sports Radio's Sydney Traffic.
I'm David Warner. The summer of cricket is here on Sydney's Macquarie Sports Radio 954.
Carlton are car into pole, Princess Highway at Wheeler Street, East Lakes, Lights of Sachambo, Wentworth Avenue and Southern Cross Drive on-ramp. At Belfield, wires are down Punchbowl Road and Burwood Road, and Prospect truck broken down. Prospect Highway southbound past the M4. The Domain, a lot of traffic southbound into the ED Tunnel and the M5. A little busy westbound through the main tunnel to Bexley North. Looking for the lowest liquor prices? Check out Dan Murphy's 3-day offers on your favourite drinks at unbeatable prices. But hurry, prices end Sunday. Enjoy responsibly. Conditions apply. I'm Ian Wallace from Macquarie Sports Radio 954.
Sydney weather.
Hi, I'm Drew Mitchell. If it happens in sport, you'll hear it here first. Macquarie Sports Radio. All sports, all the time.
Mostly sunny, but there's a poor air quality alert due to the smoke haze. Northeasterly winds 25 to 40 kilometres per hour. Mostly sunny, but becoming windy with areas of smoke haze again tomorrow. Right now in the city, 23 degrees. It's 25 degrees in Campbelltown and Penrith. It's 23 for Lucas Heights and Terry Hills. I'm Amy Meehan on Macquarie Sports Radio Sydney 954.
Hello, gentlemen. David Campese. You're welcome.
On Macquarie Sports Radio.
Welcome, Duncan Armstrong to Heroes.
Thanks, mate.
Mike Whitney.
Thanks very much.
Brad Hardy's good to be with you, boys.
A look at the legends of Australian sport.
Yes, the smell of spring is right upon us now, and everyone knows that racing is very much a subjective sport. It triggers great debate. You could get 20 people around a table at the pub and you could ask them for their favourite horse or jockey and you'd get different answers from most of them. But it is the mark of our next guest that all of them would talk in glowing terms about his status in the sport. Darren Beadman. He's ridden horses that rank among the nation's best ever. Nearly 90 Group 1 races, hundreds, if not thousands of wins right around the world. And he's a very special part of the sport, and he rose to prominence during one of the most competitive eras of racing in this country. And with spring here, it's great to welcome the Dazzler. Darren Beadman, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good, thanks, fellas.
How you doing?
Yeah, super. Really, really well.
You still get excited about spring, even though you're in the training ranks now?
I do. There's just something about it when you go to Randwick, on over the carnival, seeing all the fashion and the great horses and, the buzz about the place and, the crowds are back, so it's good.
Let's go back to where it all began. You were apprenticed to none other than the great Theo Green, the man, I think we called him the jockey maker because Ron Quinton was another who was a champion jockey. Just tell us a little bit about Theo and how he became just the legend that he is and what he meant to you.
Yes, well, he was known as the boss. We'd never called him Mr. Green. It was always the boss. And look, he threw away the mould when they made the boss. He was remarkable, man. He just took so much time to devote copious amount of hours into his boys.
You're a champion, of course. I mean, not many rise to the height that you did as an apprentice. During that time, you rode that mighty little hook called Inspired.
Yes, that was funny. Davey, I used to strap him, and he was in box 20 at Clear Day Lodge, and I looked after him, and he was by Vane. He was a big strapping. He was a gelding. They gelded him when he was young, just over a yearling. So I looked after him. So it was a bit of a Tommy Woodcock sort of far lap type of situation. So. And he was a real fiery customer. You couldn't put a bridle on him. You had to put a head collar on him as a bridle. We had a special bridle made up for him because he was very touchy around the head, and he'd go off in the barriers. And he was like for me, I was probably only about 47 kilos at the time, and he weighed about 500. So he was a powerhouse. But look, you know, to be given the opportunity to have my first ride in a Group 1 race, looking back at it now, I didn't really realise how important the Golden Slip. I knew it was a big race, but when I look back at it now, and probably rode in about I don't know 16 or 17 of the slippers that I rode in, it's a hard race to win. So to have a first crack at it, Group 1, it was it was massive. And being a stable horse, that we, you know, it was such a team effort.
Once you broke through, Dan, albeit as an apprentice, it sort of happened quick for you, didn't it? The winners started coming and good rides. I mean, I'm sure that's not the way it panned out behind the scenes, but as someone watching racing at the time, I think, gee, this Beedman's come on quick. Yeah, well, the boss, I really put it down to the good grounding that I had with him, that he was able to sort of set me on my way, and we had the foresight to send me overseas to France for 9 months, and he... Yeah, I think the boss wanted me to stay there indefinitely. I was there for riding for a stable, John Fellows over there, and I was a stable rider as an apprentice under contract. Yeah. So it was a big thing. Wow. I was only 19 years of age, and I moved from a room of 3 double bunks into this little cottage in Le Morlaix, and had my own car. And it was just it was a dream, really, and had good success over there.
So what did France teach you? It's a different style of racing, isn't it? European style compared to Australian style.
Definitely. That was one thing I did notice a lot. Over here, it's very competitive. They have very big fields, and it's more speed racing, sort of a little bit similar to America. But in France, it was ride on a very long rein. You keep the horse relaxed. You don't go as quick early. You build momentum, and it's more of a sprint home from the 600. And generally, the best horse wins because they don't have big fields over there. And just watching other riders, I think the French have got, like I rode against Lester Piggott and rode against Freddie Head, Yves Saint Martin, great riders, Pat Ettery. I remember one day I was following Lester in a race at Every. It's now closed down, Every. Anyway, we had the same valet, and I was only 19 years of age, and Lester's there, and he's got this massive long whip, and it looked like a 2 would compared to mine. Anyway, I was following him in a race, and he was behind the leader, and it was a distance race, and I was 3 pairs back on the fence, and I'm watching him and seeing what he's doing. Anyway, he's give this horse that's outside the lead a bit of a flick up the tail, and this horse sort of jams its tail, and next minute the horse takes off. He gets out of the pocket and goes on and wins the race. So I thought, I'll try that one day. So similar, I was in a similar sort of position. I was in the box seat, and they weren't really going quick enough for me, and I thought I'll give the thing outside the leader a bit of a flick up the tail and see what happens. And anyway, sure as eggs, the horse jams its tail, and I didn't hit it hard. I just sort of put it up its... derriere. And anyway, it's jammed its tail, and the jockey's looking behind him, thinking he's getting galloped on or something's happening. He didn't know what happened. Anyway, his horse sort of gets going. Anyway, I'll get out of the pocket. I go on. I don't win the race, but anyway, I did try it later on when I came back over here and won the Queen Elizabeth Stakes on a horse called Orthal, which is Sheikh Mohammed's horse. And anyway, the stewards called me in the room, and they said, Jockey Beedman, we noticed something in the back straight. Can you please explain? And so they're showing the video, and you can see me. Because back then, Dave, they used to have the white whips. Well, when I went back into the room, his whips were brown or black. They weren't. It was camouflaged.
Lesson number 1 from the old bull.
That's it. So when I came back home, and that's when I started using dark whips then, and anyway, paid off one day for me. So I got my victory.
You got the victory in the Melbourne Cup in 1990 as well. What about that?
Yes, that was for Bart, and
how old were you then?
About about 23, 24. I just got married in '89 to Kim, and we had our son Mitchell, and Kim was expecting with the twins at the same time, but I was on the Saturday before. I think I had 5 winners here on Silver Slipper Day, and so you sort of names in the papers and whatever, and so I got the call up from Bart to ride him in the, I think it was the 2,500 metre race the following Saturday.
The Hotham?
The Hotham. Well, the Dalgety, I think they call it. Yeah.
The Dalgety, the Saab, the Lexus. A few different name changes over the years. It's originally called the Hotham.
Yeah. Anyway, I got the call. He won the Moonee Valley Cup, and then Bart backed him up in the Dalgety, and when I went out to get on him, I'd never ridden him before, and he was by Secretariat. And Bart said, look, very soft skin horse, don't hurt him. In other words, he just wanted him to have a bit of a burn around.
Most definitely for South Africa. Now we just need to get the required run rate under 6, and then you can crawl your way, okay, not crawl, but walk your way to that target of 135. Saini into Reza Hendricks. He dots that one down to the man. They're coming from point, and they come through for a single. 33 with
Our Magic Man leads by about a length and a half, and then Latristi and Novato. Kingston Rule getting up on the inside. Mr. Brooker wider out, followed by the Phantom and Flying Luskin at the 300. Savage Toss in front. Our Magic Man tries to get him, and Kingston Rule's coming home very stoutly. Kingston Rule is at the front. Here's Novato and Mr. Brooker. Kingston Rule in front from the Phantom, diving up on the inside. Kingston Rule and the Phantom from Novato. It's Kingston Rule to give Barty's 8th. Kingston Rule from the Phantom.
Amazing stuff. So you said you didn't really realise the gravity of winning the Slipper. Did you realise the gravity of winning the Melbourne Cup?
I did, because that was my dream. Like when I was a young kid, even before I got into the sports. The Melbourne Cup is part of history in Australia. It's the race to win, and so we used to listen to it at school, the races, and watch it on TV, and the Melbourne Cup. So for me to win the Melbourne Cup, that was my dream, and it happened.
The following year, we saw a horse win the Doncaster and Epsom in 1990. But in 1991, you had an association, big horse, lovely horse, Superimpose. Can you take me to Epsom date 91? When he had a heap of weight on his back and you were almost stone motherless at the turn? How did you ever get him home to win?
It was just instinct.
Wasn't the old whip up the backside, was it, Darren?
No, it was just trying to look. There was a lot of rum snake in front of me. The whole field was in front of me, and it was just a matter of big weight, keeping his momentum going and just being patient. And I had so much faith in the horse, like he could reel off some really good sectionals, and it was just impossible to go out there in Mulley's Gully, 4 and 5, 6 wide, 8 wide in the home straight. So there was an opening up the inside, and I just kept hoping the openings just kept coming for me, and it did. And he was a super horse.
Do great horses like that, when you're looking for a run, do they sort of make their own luck a bit sometimes?
They do. And sometimes you need horses with that acceleration or turn of foot, because it gets pretty competitive out there, and sometimes runs go before you actually get to them. And if you've got the right cattle there, I'm sure if I wasn't on a horse of his nature, with his acceleration, I think runs would have been closing before I got to them. So you just got to head them in the right direction, and they take advantage of it.
How would you rate him now? I mean, he finished 2nd in a Melbourne Cup, 4th in a Melbourne Cup. He won those 4-mile races, which are probably the testament, the mile champion of Australia, winning a Doncaster and Epsom. He won a couple of other super races. Cox Plate. He was exceptional talent.
Oh, he was, and I think he won his maiden at Echuca or somewhere. You know, he just Friedman's. They did.
I think Richard told us that story. We had him in a while ago. I think didn't they back him off the map at a Maiden or something at a Chuka, and there was some kind of a rort. That wouldn't be like Richard, would it? No.
I remember one year I was going down to Melbourne, and Scalacci. Lee said, "Oh, look, can you go to Kyneton on Wednesday for me?" This is the following week. He said, "You go to Kyneton for me." He said, "Just one ride." I said, "Lee," I said, "it's Melbourne Cup's on the Tuesday." I said, "I don't want to go to Kyneton on Wednesday. I'm from Maiden." He said, "No, just go down." He said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Just get a feel of this horse and just see what you think of it." Anyway, so I go down there, and anyway, they backed some other horse off them.
Mavone.
Did they?
Another horse. Jeez, it was a rort.
Was your
Well, Alan Bell's a very good friend of mine.
Okay. Anyway, so I'll get down there and drive down there, and anyway, go out, get on this horse, grey horse, and most grey horses look pretty plain. Anyway, I cantered him off to the gates, and I thought, oh, shit, this feels all right. Like, just a canter. He was so well balanced. Anyway, he jumped out and led and never got out of second gear. And, it turns out to be Scalacci in a maiden at Kyneton.
Yeah, and Mavone finished up winning a Group 1 before Scalacci won a Group 1.
Right, okay.
That's how good the other horse was.
Second place.
Yeah, you'd be a bit stiff having the other horse and backing it off the map.
They backed it off the map, yeah. Darren Beeman's our guest on Heroes this week. We'll take a short break and come back with more.
How are our kids going to afford a place in Sydney?
Well, they won't be able to. That's the problem. But I've got an idea. Why don't we buy a place in Brisbane? Help them get a foot in the door.
Okay, so we buy in Brisbane now.
Or help them buy.
And with rental returns and growth, we all end up with a tidy investment.
And Brisbane is still affordable.
Helping the kids get into property? Is Sydney beyond the budget? Invest in Brisbane.
Now that's a great idea.
Visit brisbaneinvest.com.au.
Peter Jackson mid-season sale is now on. $200 off all... $200 off all suits. $100 off all sports jackets. All new spring styles...
Music, live hosted entertainment, and the promotion of gambling during live sports. You can obtain a copy of their code by contacting this station or from the Commercial Radio Australia website, commercialradio.com.au.
Ladbrokes means business at the business end of spring, with over 150 promotional offers available across racing and sport this week. You know your favourite runners and your favourite players. So, with more value on offer in over 150 racing and sport promotional offers this week, you know what to do. Ladbrokes. Back yourself. T's and C's apply. See ladbrokes.com.au for details. Gamble responsibly.
Mornings on Macquarie Sports Radio. Thanks to Jacaranda Financial Planning, providing you with trusted and understandable super and retirement advice.
Great to have Darren Beeman with us. Spring racing. He's got a spring in his step himself, walking in here into the studio. When did your association with the Ingham start, Darren?
Right back when I was an apprentice with the boss. The Inghams, Mr. Jack and Bob were, they really supported the stable, and Mr. Jack, he loved to bet, and so, loved to bet. And so with the apprentices on getting the claim, you get that little bit more of an advantage. So I think I had one of my first trialers for Mr. Jack and Bob. So it kicked off there with the boss, and then when they'd never had Crown Lodge until about, I think they started Crown Lodge the Ingham racing operation about 88, 89. And then I moved out and I was their stable rider for a number of years.
Because we'd be here forever if we talked about all the great horses you've ridden, but there is such great affection amongst people in racing for the octagonal, Lonhro, and then, the great stallion horses that you've ridden. Just an amazing part of racing, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. No, they were really sort of the first big major operation to sort of set it up, stud racing. There were other people that had just studs or they had racing, but they were the whole operation. And they really, what we're seeing now, even with Godolphin, some of the the bloodlines that are coming through.
Still there?
They're still there, and they're the colonial breed.
I'd love to take us. We'll just go to a race here, the Rosehill Guineas, 1996, which I think I talked about great years of 3-year-old champions. That year was exceptional. We had Falante, Nothing Like a Dane, horse called Saintly, and then another horse called Octagonal. Pretty fair group of horses.
It was. It was either way, any one of those horses could have won on the day, but Occy I remember riding him in the Canterbury Guineas, which they don't run at Canterbury anymore, and that was before the Rosehill Guineas, and I had to ride him upside down that day to be in front of Falante, because Falante was a lot sharper
than we normally have to get to. So a great point there, Ian, that I don't
give him a start and beat him anyway. I could ride him out of his comfort zone, and he was able to win that, and then come the Rose.
Dot ball. One run. New Zealand 32 after 6 overs. New Zealand 39 for 2 overs. One run.
Cài cái ví dụ người kia cài quá lớn đi
One run. One run. New Zealand 48 for 2 after 7 overs. Three runs. Dot ball. Dot ball. One run. Dot ball. One run. New Zealand 53 for 2 after 8 overs. Four. One run. One run. One run. 1 run. Dot ball. New Zealand 61 for 2 after 9 overs. Two runs. One run. One run. Dot ball. Six. One run. New Zealand 72 for 2 after 10 overs. Out New Zealand 72 for 3. One run. Dot ball. One run. One run. One run. New Zealand 76 for 3 after 11 overs. 2 runs. Dot ball. One run. One run. Two runs. Leg bye. New Zealand 83 for 3 after 12 overs. 2 runs.
And be successful. So for me, it's just great to be back in the BBL as a coach, not necessarily as a player this time, but and spend some time with those guys. And again, for me, help out as much as I can, and obviously winning games is number one in that competition.
1
but
run.
from a personal point of view, to be able to get
1
around
run.
some different coaches
New
again
Zealand
and
93 for
pick
3
their
after
brains about
13
coaching,
overs.
it's only gonna
New
hopefully
Zealand
help
93
develop
for
my
3
coaches.
after
So,
13 overs.
positives,
New Zealand
all
93
around,
for
but,
3 after
really
13
excited about
overs.
that challenge as well.
Ryan, thanks for your time this morning. Much appreciated. Best of luck with the Aussies tonight and for the rest of this little T20 series, and no doubt we'll catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, cheers, Jack. Thanks, mate.
Good on you, Ryan. There he goes. Ryan Harris, former Australian fast bowler, with us this morning on the show. Good to catch up with him, and we'll be watching tonight at the MCG for Australia and Sri Lanka, and looking forward to the Pakistan series as well with the third game here in Perth. And Pakistan, they had a really solid victory over the Cricket Australia 11 at Bankstown Oval yesterday, which will obviously put them in good stead for these 3 games and those couple of test matches coming up here on Australian soil. Time for a break, 3 minutes to 10, and we'll come back. We'll give you a couple of those Sheffield Shield scores going into the news next here on Sportsline.
Keep up to date with the latest about 91.3 Sport FM with the Sport FM website, sportfm.com.au, with interview and program podcasts, show information, the upcoming outside broadcasts on the front page, and it's all in one place, sportfm.com.au. You can even keep up to date with the latest sporting information and results, and how you can be part of the station. sportfm.com.au, 91.3 Sport FM, Perth's voice for the sports community.
If you want family value, family fun, and a fantastic night out, all roads lead to the Dish Lickers at Cannington. Quality racing and restaurant meals that are dish-licking good. A night out with friends or the fam, the Cannington Dogs are always action-packed. Each Wednesday and Saturday, there's exciting greyhound action all year round. Get along to the Dish Lickers at Cannington. You know you want to. For bookings in the Box 1 restaurant or more information, visit greyhoundswa.com.au.
Station sponsor.
Building a patio, a shed, a trailer? Owner, builder, or doing renovations? Come buy your steel at station sponsor Best Buy Steel. We sell quality Australian and imported steel at great prices, including on genuine colourblind. We're WA family owned and can deliver the steel you need for your project to the metro area or beyond. Call us on 1800-BUY-STEEL or get prices right now on our website at bestbuysteel.com.au. Our Wattle Up warehouse is open Monday to Friday and Saturday mornings as well. Best Buy Steel, the best place to buy your steel.
Retrovision's biggest ever sale is on right now with big savings store-wide. Get a bonus 8-kilo tub of Omo valued at $60 on Electrolux front load washers. Plus, RAC members save an extra 5% every day. Retrovision's biggest ever sale on now, in-store or online.
Station sponsor.
On 91.3 Sport FM, Perth's home for sports variety, Sportsline with Jack Crawshaw.
91.3 Sport FM, coming up to the news at 10 o'clock. Quickly around the grounds in the Sheffield Shield. It's lunch in Hobart, Tasmania and Victoria. And it's Tasmania who lead by 74 runs. They're 7 for 201. Victoria's first innings total 127. Jackson Bird is 18 not out. Jake Doran is 33 not out. 7 for 201. The
Out
Tasmanian
New Zealand
Tigers.
93 for 4.
And at the Adelaide Oval, South Australia and the New South Wales Blues. New South Wales are 2 for 93. Coming up to lunch there. Moses Enriquez is 29 and Daniel Solway is 41. And that's a pretty good recovery. They were 1 for 8 and 2 for 33, New South Wales. So they've a 60-run partnership here between Enriquez and Solway has steadied the ship after a couple of early breakthroughs from Chad Sayers, who has the figures of 10 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 26 after that opening session of play there at the Adelaide Oval. The Redbats win the toss and bowling first. New South Wales 2 for 94. Queensland and Western Australia gets underway tomorrow morning from 8 a.m. Our coverage from 8 a.m. here on 91.3 Sport FM. Colin Mitson and Wayne Clark will be winging their way to the Gabba today, and they will be with us tomorrow morning for the 4 days of action up there in Queensland. So looking forward to that. We're going to go to Queensland after the news and catch up with Michael Atkinson from Channel 9 in Brisbane. We're also going to speak with Mike Ellis a bit later on in the show. Mike Ellis, two-time NBL champion, former coach of the Wildcats. They take on the Bullets a little bit later on this evening, so we'll get him to set the scene for us. We'll also catch up with Corbin Middlemas a bit later on in the show as well. We're going to talk about Horn and Zarafa. The rematch has been set for December. Spoken about yesterday. So we'll touch on that with Corbin in the back end of the show this morning as well. We'll also have some more fallout from the fixtures, of course, that were announced by the AFL yesterday. And also coming your way, we'll hear from one of the key players for Derby Day tomorrow there in Melbourne in the build-up to the Cup on Tuesday. Time now, though, for the latest in news headlines.
G'day. Make sure you smile today and wave. Show people you care. Make a difference to mental health. 91.3 Sport FM News Update for station sponsor SKG Radiology.
National Radio News.
Hello, I'm Shannon Kirkwood. Safe to fly. That's the message from Qantas as it grounds 3 of its Boeing 737 aircraft due to structural cracks. The airline insists the hairline cracks found in the wing structure did not pose an immediate risk, but the 3 aircraft found to have the cracks will undergo complex repairs and return to service by the end of the year. But the Australian Licensed Aircraft Engineers Association is calling for the immediate grounding of all 75 Boeing 737s until inspections of the entire fleet are finalised. Qantas Head of Engineering Chris Snook says the airline would never fly an aircraft that wasn't safe, reassuring passengers the carrier is safe to fly with.
I think there's an integrity issue with the component on the basis an AD related to it, but there's not an integrity issue with the structure. There's redundancy built into that structure. It's not compromised. The load limit on that structure hasn't been compromised by this crack.
The latest figures add to mounting evidence the country's property downturn may be over, with house prices experiencing the highest monthly increase.
New Zealand 96 for 4 after 14 overs.
CoreLogic's Home Value Index monthly survey shows October saw a 1.2% rise in house prices, the 4th straight monthly increase. Prices rose in every capital city, but it was Melbourne and Sydney which saw the strongest growth, rising 2.3% and 1.7% respectively. A huge wildfire is moving across southern Brazil's Pantanal wetlands, the world's largest tropical wetlands. Local officials warn the fire is bigger than anything seen before in the region. At least 50,000 hectares of vegetation has already been destroyed since the blaze began on October the 25th. The Pantanal is one of the most biodiverse regions in the world. More than 8,000 fires have been recorded in the region this year. That's up 462% on the same time last year. A new study has discovered healthy women have more than twice the chance of a normal labour and birth in a planned birth centre birth compared to a planned hospital birth. The University of Technology Sydney study examined over 1 million single births from 2000 to 2012. It found planned home and birth centre births have lower rates of most maternal complications when compared to planned hospital births. Lead researcher Professor Caroline Homer says the study provides evidence for women wanting to inform themselves about their birth options. She says it is beneficial for women to know their choices and be able to decide where they would feel most comfortable to give birth.
It's a very important moment in a woman's life, even if she's had more than one baby, and many women feel that the place of birth makes a big difference to how their experience is and how their outcomes are.
Moving to sports news now, Australian Sports Anti-Doping Authority CEO David Sharp says with the amount of education available today, there's no excuse for elite athletes to test positive to banned substances. But he says those just below the elite level are more likely to dope without knowing, as 1 in 5 supplements on the shelf are tainted. 3 high-profile athletes tested positive to banned substances this year, including AFL star Willie Rioli, NRL player James Seguiaro and swimmer Shayna Jack. Formula One's new technical, sporting and financial rules for next season have been approved by the sport's legislative body ahead of this weekend's United States Grand Prix. The 2021 revolution of the sport includes wholesale aerodynamic changes with the aim to have a closer championship and more unpredictable racing. And many top NRL players are officially unemployed with a contract cut-off arriving today, among them Alex Glenn and Isaac Luke.
You're up to date with National Radio News.
Keep up to date with the latest about 91.3 Sport FM with the Sport FM website, sportfm.com.au, with interview and program podcasts, show information, the upcoming outside broadcasts on the front page, and it's all in one place, sportfm.com.au. You can even keep up to date with the latest sporting information and results and how you can be part of the station. sportfm.com.au, 91.3 Sport FM, Perth's voice for the sports community.
Amando Sports is a sports fan's choice for your must-have gear. From a wide range of footwear, clothing, fitness gear and the popular fan shop, you'll find huge savings with store-wide specials. Find them today at 1289 Stock Road in O'Connor and the corner of High Road and Augusta Street, Willerton. Can't get in store? Then visit station sponsor Amando Sports Online Sports Superstore and take advantage of free shipping Australia-wide with purchases of $75 or more. amandosports.com.au.
John's Building Supplies, perfect for registered builders or the handyman. John's Building Supplies specialise in James Hardie products including flooring, fencing and external cladding. They also supply CSR Gyprock plasterboard, special plasters and ceiling products. John's Building Supplies, located at 205 Star Street, Welshpool, with easy drive-through access.
Station sponsor John's Building Supplies, open Monday to Friday 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday 7 a.m. to midday.
Sport FM weather. For station sponsor Retrovision, your Fujitsu air conditioning specialist.
Let's have a look at the weather forecast. Showers today, 18 degrees. There is the chance of gusty winds about the southern suburbs earlier this morning. Westerly 25 to 35 kilometres per hour elsewhere. Showers easing 21 degrees for Saturday. A couple of showers most likely in the morning forecast there. Partly cloudy 22 on Sunday and back up and warm again from Monday. Sunny and 25. Mostly sunny 24 Tuesday, mostly sunny 25 Wednesday. Long range forecast sunny and 28 degrees next Thursday. Current temperature on our way to that top of 18. It is 18 degrees.
Dot ball.
On 91.3 Sport FM.
New Zealand 105 for 4 after 15 overs.
With Jack Crawshaw.
Coming up to 9 minutes past 10 o'clock, 91.3 Sport FM. We're about to speak to Michael Atkinson from Channel 9 up in Brisbane, talk about sport in the Sunshine State. But firstly, if you have been keeping an eye on Cyril Rioli and what he's up to, of course he's out of the AFL system now. He's going to make his return to footy at the Tiwi Islands this weekend. So for people who are lucky enough to be on Bathurst Island on Saturday, four-time premiership player Cyril Rioli will be running around in the Tiwi Bombers' first game on the Tiwi Islands for the season. Rioli will make his return to footy. He joined the Tiwi Bombers as a runner late in the 2018 season and stepped up to be an assistant coach, looking after the forwards group for the season, but now he's been coaxed into playing. So Rioli will play on the forward line, licensed to roam about Cyril Rioli, so that's exciting for people who are up in that part of the world. Exciting for people who hold the dream that perhaps Cyril Rioli might return to the AFL one day, but not sure whether that'll happen. But good to see him back playing some footy up there in the Northern Territory this weekend. Let's talk about Queensland sport now. Michael Atkinson from Channel 9 in Brisbane. He's been good enough to jump on the phone and have a chat with us this morning. Hello, Michael.
G'day, Jack. How you going? Good segue from people dreaming about Cyril returning to the AFL, because as far as I'm concerned, he's still joining Chris Fagan at the Lions.
Yeah, well, that's
that little rumour floated about 18 months ago, and everyone got extremely excited, myself included. So to me, this is just another sign that it's definitely happening.
Could be a top-up maybe for the Brisbane Lions. Considering everything's going well for you guys at the moment, you got handed a dream fixture, the Brisbane Lions yesterday as well. We heard from Greg Swan a bit earlier in the show.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, and made even better by, I don't know if you've seen, if you get a chance, anyone who's listening, Jack yourself, jump on the Brisbane Lions Twitter and have a look at the video they did for the fixtures for next year. It's very, very well done, including some famous scenes from movies.
A few clubs did that. I think Fremantle had done something like that from a local point of view, with obviously Brad Hill being at St Kilda and talking about how they were coming for him. And then Melbourne, I think one of the Brayshaws did something, considering one of his brothers was playing for the Demons. So obviously a few clubs, social media and digital departments getting a little bit creative there. But Nevertheless, they got a good fixture though, the Brisbane Lions, which is huge. I mean, to have 2 Thursday night and 2 Friday night fixtures against marquee clubs, I mean, I can't imagine what the feeling's like around town up there in Brisbane. That'd be ecstatic, Michael.
One run.
Oh, I think there's a fair bit of joy about it. Also, though, I think you probably guessed that the town isn't exactly buzzing just because we're not really traditionally an AFL town and it's a little bit out of season. But there is an acknowledgement that is a huge nod to the success they had this year and the fact that they draw pretty good crowds and both on TV and in person in the stands that people are starting to flock back to watch the Lions. So, yeah, it is massive. And if it's not a huge buzz now, it certainly will be when those fixtures come around next year. So we are happy for them, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So right under the Brisbane Lions, they're more attractive football, earned them some good fixtures. Now, one particular football side up there in Queensland is back training already, Michael. Who's already been put through their paces?
Yeah, well, mate, believe it or not, the Broncos were out. First day back at pre-season today. There's only probably a dozen guys, and it was mostly sort of the first-year guys, a few players who are on, like, train and trial type opportunities at the moment, so no real big names. In about a fortnight's time, a few of the more regular first graders who didn't play any rep footy this year will return, and then about a fortnight after that, everyone will be back on deck. But, yeah, there was probably 12, maybe 15 guys out there today, and they weren't spared either. You know, as soon as you see cones and no footies out, you know you're in for a really tough session. And they had the speaker out, and they were blaring, not music, but they were blaring the beep of a beep test, which is a horrible sound. If anyone has been through those in high school PE or in any sort of sporting club, you know exactly what you're in for when you see and hear that sound.
Yes, that's torture. Got written all over it.
Torture.
Yes.
Yeah, they're probably a bit lucky today. It's not exactly the Sunshine State in Brisbane today, and it started raining sort of midway through their fitness session. So I guess that's a little reprieve. But at the end of the day, they were being made to run laps. So you'd rather be doing something else at the beginning of November.
And they're back that early because the season didn't go as planned, did it, Michael, last year? Really, I mean, they would have expected a lot more up there, the Broncos.
And they always do, and they always should. A club with the record and the success that the Broncos have got, I think anything below top 4 is a failure. But also, in saying that, they were one of 8 teams to make the finals, and there was 8 teams that didn't. So, not a totally lost season, but the way it ended, first week of the finals going out 58-0. There is part of me that's a little surprised the coach didn't make every single player return today to start making up for that pretty poor performance their last game of the year.
We've got Michael Atkinson from Channel 9 up in Brisbane with us this morning talking about Queensland sports. So the Broncos are back at it, and the summer teams are well amongst it. The Brisbane Bullets, now you're taking on our Perth Wildcats a little bit later on this evening up there in Brisbane. People can hear that here on Sport FM a little bit later on this afternoon. But talk us through the Bullets. I mean, they started the season really well. They've dropped away over the last couple of weeks. What's the feeling like inside the camp going into the Cats game tonight?
I feel a bit like they're putting up the walls to everyone at the moment. I think they might be adopting the us against the world mentality, backs to the wall, because you know, hopefully they do that and it works for them, because at the moment they need to find something. They've lost 3 on a trot. I think a week ago, Andre Lamanis accused some of his players not showing up with the right mind frame. I think leading into that Phoenix game when they lost to the Phoenix down in Melbourne, there's been a few comments that maybe star import Lamar Patterson is carrying a little more pud than he should, which didn't come from the team. That's come from externally, and the team have, as you'd understand, have pretty feverishly denied that, or at least defended their player. But he was a star last year, Lamar, and I think he started all right in those first 2 games this season, but just hasn't quite hit the same mark in the last 3 weeks. So huge challenge. Like your Wildcats, what are they, second on the ladder? They've only lost 1, I think, so far this season, and Brisbane are on a 3-game losing streak. And if you don't arrest that quickly, I know it's only sort of 5-6 games into the season, but if you don't arrest that quickly, your season can be done and you can be over, and you can be thinking about 2020 to 21, and forgetting about now. So big challenge for them at home tonight. But I guess these are the games where you want to turn it around and prove that you're a contender.
Yeah, and I mean, they played the Wildcats in the final series last year as well. They were sort of humiliated in the first game. They fought back and they nearly knocked them off over here in Perth. So I wouldn't have thought that would play too much of an impact though on what happens tonight, Michael. With the last year.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think teams hold on to it too much. I think they would have been just happy to move on and get on to this year. It was a big effort for the Bullets to make the final series last year because they'd sort of been wooden spooners in their first 2 seasons back in the competition. So I think that was a bit of an overachievement in a lot of people's eyes to make the finals. Not that they weren't deserving being there. I think it's just where they'd come from. It was a pretty big effort for them to get there. I think there might be a little bit of a Basketball World Cup hangover as well. There's a couple of guys, Sobey, Glidden, who were part of that Boomers setup for the World Cup, and then of course the coach Andre Lamanis, he's the Boomers coach. There might be a little bit of hangover from that, but I guess we'll see tonight how much they really want to be a success this season, because as we said, they're taking on the Wildcats, who are top 2 and the reigning champs. So yeah, this is the opportunity you want.
Michael, to the Brisbane Roar. Now, what impression is Robbie Fowler leaving up there in Queensland so far?
There's still a lot of positivity. I mean, they've only played 2 games so far. They had stole the draw late against Your Glory over there, and then conceded an early goal to the victory. Was it last Friday? But they seem to have almost dominated second halves in the 2 games they've played, although they haven't necessarily come away with the full amount of points. So there's still a bit of positivity for them at the moment, and Robbie said this himself. He said, if we can just start well and even get to half-time 0-0, I think we're a good chance of walking away with the full competition points from a match, because they seem to do so well in the second half. So I think they're on their way to Sydney now. I think they've been to the airport. We've had media out there this morning in the last half an hour. So they're on their way to Sydney now, taking on the Wanderers. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be saying to them, if you don't start well in this first 45, then, you're in for another tough day.
That's the Brisbane Roar up against the Western Sydney Wanderers there in Sydney tomorrow. Sydney FC Newcastle Jets kick off the A-League round a little bit later on this afternoon. And then from a cricket point of view, yesterday up there on the Gold Coast at Metricon Stadium, the Bulls get the job done. The Warriors fell in a heap at the end there yesterday, which was disappointing. But the Sheffield Shield game starts at the Gabba tomorrow between these 2 sides. But in terms of the one-day yesterday, Marnus Labuschagne, he just continues to put his name up in lights, doesn't he, Michael?
Doesn't he what? I mean, we talk about Steve Smith being a lock, which he is for any Australian side at the moment, and for the first test, which is only a couple of weeks away. But this bloke is almost just as secure. He just seems to churn out half centuries at the very least, without even raising a sweat at the moment. I'm surprised you allowed enough time for this one to come up, though, Jack. I think it was last week when I spoke to Jordan. He wouldn't let me get off the phone until he brought up a similar situation, but it was against Queensland with the Redbacks, and Adam Zampa had come out and belted 35 off 15 to take it away from Queensland. So I'm surprised you let me have an opportunity here. But yeah, I was sitting here watching that game just thinking, the Warriors, they are just cruising to victory. What were they? 3 for 218, tracing 269, and they lost 7 for 24. It was just unbelievable. The moment Bancroft got out, it just seemed the rest of the team thought, no chance now. Well, let's just pack it in. I mean, obviously they wouldn't have done that, but that's the way it looked when you're watching it on TV.
Just some pretty average shots, I think, played by some WA batsmen towards the end. And so the Sheffield Shield game starts up there tomorrow at the Gabba. And Sean Marshall captained the WA side. It's his 100th Sheffield Shield match as well for Sean Marsh in that game tomorrow.
What do you reckon he's looking like? I mean, I know he hasn't been in the Test team lately, but he's a guy who seems to get back in reasonably easily in the past few years. He scored a double ton not that long ago. Do you think, what's the feeling in Western Australia? Is he back in the frame, or is it his time's done?
It's more about runs, isn't it? Really, ultimately, that's the currency that they keep talking about. Is if he continues to make runs, Sean Marshall, and his name's up there again. But talking about, okay, if you've got 2 people, one say Will Bukowski, one Sean Marsh. Both are making heaps of runs. Who are you going to go with? You're probably going to go with someone who's got some more cricket in him, maybe, and Will Bukowski, someone like that. If you come down to that type of situation, that's only an example, of course. But
New Zealand
I think if Sean's
129
still
for
making
4 after
runs, well, then his
17
name's
overs.
up there with everybody else, isn't there? So I think Justin Langer.
Yeah, well, it's hard to it's hard to argue with a bloke who's making runs, and if he's scoring double tons, then he's earned his spot, I guess.
Yep, no, that's very true. Michael, thank you for your time. Much appreciated, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Enjoy your weekend up there in Brizzy.
Yeah, cheers, Jack. Thanks, mate.
There he goes, Michael Atkinson from Channel 9 in Brisbane. Good to chat with him. He keeps us up to date with sport there in the Sunshine State. Good to chat with him. And that WA side has been announced. It's a 14-player squad to face Queensland in the Mars Sheffield Shield game up there at the Gabba. So Ashton Agar comes out of the side that last played here at the WACA because of international duties. Liam Guthrie and Liam O'Connor have been included into that 14-player squad. The squad will be trimmed to 13 players tomorrow morning after several players are assessed following yesterday's Marsh One-Day Cup game. So Sean Marsh, Cameron Bancroft, Hilton Cartwright, Cameron Green, Liam Guthrie, Aaron Hardy, Josh Inglis, Matt Kelly, David Moody, Liam O'Connor, Josh Philippi, Jai Richardson, Marcus Stoinis and Sam Whiteman make up the 14-player squad for Western Australia in that game against Queensland at the Gabba. Our coverage here on Sport FM from 8 a.m. tomorrow morning with Wayne Clark and Colin Minson up there at the Gabba. To the two other Sheffield Shield games before we take a break, Tasmania and Victoria. This is at Blundstone Arena in Hobart. Tasmania now 8 for 216 with a lead of 89 runs. Victoria's first innings total of 127. Jackson Bird 24, Gabe Bell 6. Last man to fall was Jake Doran. He was bowled by John Holland for 36. John Holland now has the figures of 8 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 28. So they lead it by 89 runs there, Tasmania. Meanwhile, New South Wales and South Australia, it is lunch there, and New South Wales 2 for 94 at lunch with Enriquez 30 and Solway on 41. More on that throughout the morning. We turn our attention to horse racing after the break. Derby Day tomorrow there in Melbourne. Shadow Hero is the favourite. On the station sponsor tabtouch.com.au market. He's paying $3.40 at the moment. Shadow Hero. We'll hear from trainer Mark Newnham on the other side of the break. Sportsline for station sponsors tabtouch.com.au and Toolmart, the complete tool centre.
Join On the Bench as we discuss all things Perth AFC, bringing more futsal and football to the sporting community. Find out about the upcoming fixtures from the Pro Futsal State Leagues. Catch the team every Thursday night from 7 p.m. on Sport FM 91.3 as Perth AFC presents On the Bench, brought to you by Daily Motors.
City Toyota, your place for express service while you wait. Visit us online at citytoyota.net.au for more. DL 12195.
Station sponsor. Safety Bay Settlements are licensed to sell a real estate sale or purchase anywhere in Western Australia. Sarah and Kim McDonald are experienced in electronic settlements using the VXA platform, providing fantastic advantages to both sellers and buyers. Appoint station sponsor Safety Bay Settlements for your next real estate transaction. They are available 7 days a week.